Hey, welcome to my channel. I'm Elma. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. You've seen it from the title. Today we're going to be talking about Charlotte's Beautiful Skin Foundation, more specifically for shade number 8. Also, I have dry skin, so if you're looking for swatches, demos, and my thoughts about this foundation, definitely keep on watching. If you enjoyed this video and you find it helpful, definitely like and subscribe to my channel. Without no further ado, let's get into it.
I gotta tell you something I could do.
Getting right into this, so I have done my skincare and I'm about to go in with some primer. Since I have dry skin, I'm going to be using a hydrating primer. That's just what I like to do. Most of my primers are hydrating regardless of the foundation claims. My primer is always going to be hydrating because I'm trying to get the most out of whatever foundation I'm using. So the primer I'm going to be using is the one from Fenty Beauty. It's the Pro Filter Hydrating Primer. If you didn't know, I do have a Fenty Beauty foundation video where I'm comparing the original primer with the hydrating primer as well as the corresponding foundation. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. I'll be leaving that in the cards right here. So yeah, I'm gonna go in with about 2 pumps of primer. There you go. And now for the star of the show, we're going to go in with the foundation, the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Medium Coverage Liquid Foundation with hyaluronic acid. So this foundation comes in 30 shades. It retails for 55 Canadian dollars plus tax, and it claims to have a 16-hour wear, and the coverage is medium to buildable. That is really something I really like. It has a natural finish, it's cruelty free, and they say that this foundation is best for dry, combination, or normal skin type. So if you have oily skin, this foundation is not really geared for you. And my shade is 8 Warm. I am not a newbie to Charlotte Tilbury's foundations. I tend to really enjoy them actually. I first started off with the Magic foundation. This is like one of the OG. This is in the shade 8.5. It's actually more of like my summer shade in all fairness. It's a really beautiful foundation, and this is like, I would say, more of my summer shade. One of her OG foundations is actually the Light Wonder. Initially, when Charlotte Tilbury started doing foundations and stuff like that, the shade range was very basic actually and not very inviting, especially to people with deeper complexions. But it has changed, but I'm not sure the Light Wonder line has. But anyway, my foundation shade in the Light Wonder is 8 Medium. That's more of like my shade of now. It's one of those, it's more of a like serum like coverage foundation that's very luminous. Actually, most of her foundations I find are quite luminous. This one was more, I would say, matte. And then maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, she came out with the Airbrush Flawless Foundation. This is a full coverage foundation that I thoroughly enjoy as well, and this is in the shade 8 Warm. So as you can see, my shade with Charlotte Tilbury is 8 Warm and 8.5 Warm for the summer. So I'm gonna put a little comparison of what they all look like side by side so you can have an idea of what it looks like. Obviously it's still the winter, I'm kind of pale, but this is what these foundations look like on my skin. Getting into the application of this foundation, on this side of my face I'm going to be using the Dose of Color sponge, and on this side I'm going to be using the Real Techniques Expert Face Brush so that we can see how they both apply depending on kind of application. I'm not really apply with your hands type of girl, so what I usually do is I have like a little container and squirt on a nice little amount, and we're going to do one side of the face at a time. I'm going to dot the foundation on one side of my face and then blend it out with the Real Techniques foundation brush. So I'm just gonna go in and just work my way to the center. So this is with one layer dotted and blended out with the foundation brush, and as you can see, it's done a good job at kind of covering up the redness and the little discoloration I have on my skin, and my skin still has a glow and a bounce to it. It's slightly also helped my under eye, but I will be going back with another layer, but I just wanted to show you what it looks like with just one, I would say, light application of this foundation. And as you can see, it still really does feel like skin. This has no foundation on this side, that's just one layer. Now I'm gonna do the same thing but with sponge. So we're gonna put a couple of dots on my face, not the same amount, I wanna say. And there you have it with the sponge. As you can see, it's actually a really good match for my skin tone, and it's done a good job at covering up some of the redness again and some of the imperfections. You can still see my beauty marks through, and it's kind of also helped the under eye. So that is just with one little layer. There's still some product left, so we're gonna go in with a second layer, and whilst I'm doing that, I'm gonna give you some of the claims about this foundation. So it says that Charlotte Tilbury developed the skincare infused foundation to improve the look of skin with each application. The lightweight, long-wearing formula helps prevent pollutant particles from penetrating the skin, strengthening its barrier and improving skin quality over time. So for some of the clinical results, it says in a daily test held over 4 weeks, 312 people reported 181% increase in visible plumpness and smoothness of the skin, 166% increase in hydration, and 285% increase in radiance. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but this formula is a liquid formula, and some of the highlighted ingredients are hyaluronic acid, which hydrates and revitalizes skin outer visible layer, rose complex, which reduces visible signs of fatigue for brighter, smoother looking skin, and Bix Active, which visibly reduces shine and blurs the look of pores. So this is what it looks like once I'm done with 2 layers of foundation. So on this side I have my brush application, and on this side I have my sponge application. As you can see, there isn't much difference in the coverage, maybe a smidge little more on the brush side, but that is kind of to be expected since sponges tend to absorb products. However, I would say I personally prefer applying it with the sponge. That's what I've realized through the weeks of trying out this foundation. I definitely prefer applying it with a sponge. It's one of those that I find works best, even though I really like how it looks like with a brush, but because I like a really more medium coverage, I think I prefer using a sponge. I think that if there's an event or I'm going out on a date or something, I'll probably go with the brush because there's a smidge more coverage, but for every day I think it's pretty good. Obviously I have kind of imperfections going on my skin, but I find that it does a good job at hiding my dark spots and the redness. Like here it's still a bit red, and I could have, to be fair, kind of like color corrected, but I just wanted you guys to see what this foundation looks like, kind of like, you know, just on its own. I tend not to apply a lot of foundation under my eyes because then there's, you know, there's concealer and all those things, so I don't try to put on a lot under there. Yeah, this is what it looks like. I'm gonna be doing the rest of my face. Once I'm about to set all of this with the powder, I'll turn back the camera on so you can see how everything sets, and yeah. Okay, so I have applied concealer and I have actually set it in place, but I'm about to set the rest of my face because this foundation doesn't exactly dry. It stays really kind of like hydrating. So just to set everything in place, I'm gonna be going in with the Kosas Cloud Set Baked Setting and Smoothing Talc Free Vegan Powder. My shade is in Pillowy. I thoroughly enjoy this setting powder because, like I said, I have dry skin and I don't usually like using like powders because it tends to like dry me off, but this is not that at all. It sets everything in place and I don't exactly feel matte, you know, I just feel set, and I'm going with this large powder brush from Real Techniques. If you like the Sephora Micro Smooth Powder, you're actually gonna really enjoy this because as a cloud set. I heard that they have a new foundation that's arrived. A lot of foundation launches that are quite interesting. So I'm gonna go in and set all of that with some setting spray, and I'm actually gonna be using the one from Charlotte Tilbury, and it's the Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray. I mentioned this in my Best of Beauty 2021, so if you haven't checked out that video yet, I suggest you do. I'm sharing a whole bunch of my Best of Beauty 2021, so check it out in the cards up here if you haven't already. So I'm just gonna go in. Just like that. Honestly, this foundation is so beautiful and really up my alley. Me that loves a natural finish type of foundation that's medium coverage, this really satisfies that need. So the question is, would I recommend the Charlotte Tilbury's Beautiful Skin Foundation? Yeah, most definitely, and especially if you do have dry skin. The fact that it has like hyaluronic acid in here really gives it that like plumping, hydrating feeling that it claims, and I can truly feel that on my skin. It's one of those foundations that you feel hydrated from it, but you don't feel like you have foundation on your face, and it really gives you a really beautiful glowy finish, and it's kind of like light on your face as well, so when you're wearing masks you don't feel like it's too heavy on the skin. Its claim of being long wearing is one that I would find slightly debatable, because I find that if you do not set this foundation properly, and I think that because of the fact that it has like hyaluronic and you have like that feeling of the serum, if you don't set this foundation on properly, it doesn't stay on as long as it would. So definitely set it in place with a powder and a setting spray. Surprisingly, unlike for example the Fenty Beauty Hydrating Foundation that I don't feel the need to set, this one is one that I need to set, because not that it slips and slides, but you still feel kind of like that tackiness to it, so you really want to set all of that in place. I hope I'm making sense, but it is a beautiful foundation, and like you can see, really looks glowy, and the color match is amazing for me. So earlier in the video you saw that I swatched her whole line of foundations, and one thing I love about Charlotte Tilbury, and I can also say that of, you know, Fenty, is once you know what shade you are, or even Nars, though Nars sometimes a bit touch and go, but I mean to say that one thing that is nice is like if you know what your foundation shade is in another line, you're most probably that same foundation shade in the new line, and that sort of continuity in, you know, shade color and shade naming is something that I thoroughly enjoy. And the thing that I love about that is that, especially in this era where shopping online has become more common, so knowing that your foundation shade from this brand is the same from line to line makes for a better shopping experience. So it's truly something I appreciate. So it comes in 30 shades, and I think that it's decent. Ideally I would like a good 40 shades. I think it's pretty good to start off with, but I'm not gonna complain, because honestly when we started off here and where we are now, there has been some improvement, and I think it's really good to include every skin tone. Do I wish that there was more representation on your Instagram feed? Yeah, most definitely, but that's just me. So this 8 warm shade is truly my color, as you can see, and it's said to actually be for medium tan with warm peach undertone. Honestly, I feel like I'm between golden, yellow, and like peachy kind of undertone. This just works. I don't know why they actually say peach, but anyway, great color match for me. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the Charlotte Tilbury foundation. Tell me in the comments below, have you tried this foundation, and if you have, what did you think about it? If you found this video was helpful, definitely give it a thumbs up, and if you think someone would benefit from this video, share it along. I would really appreciate it. Also, I have a couple of videos here that have popped up, and I think you'd be interested in my foundation review playlist. If you're the same skin tone as me and you have the same skin type as me, which is dry, definitely check out this video. And I've also put up my recent video, which is my updated filming setup. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, check it out. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that already, and hit that notification bell to be notified when I have new videos that pop up. And I will see you in my next one. Bye!